Bill Gates met with the key government and business leaders in Korea on Friday to discuss cooperation on the small modular reactors and other next-generation nuclear technologies. The U.S. has cleared the way for foreign shipbuilders investing in American shipyards to build up to 2 U.S. Navy vessels overseas, fueling expectations of a major boost for Korea's shipbuilding industry. The death toll from Colombia's devastating earthquake has risen to 281 people, with at least 379 still missing, as hopes of finding more survivors fade beyond the critical 72-hour window and repeated aftershocks complicate rescue efforts. Bill Gates, who's currently leading TerraPower, a nuclear reactor company, is here in Korea. He's met key government officials and business leaders as Korea seeks to gain a footing in the nuclear power industry amid the AI boom. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
Prime Minister Han Sung-suk and TerraPower Chairman Bill Gates discussed the prospect of increased cooperation on nuclear power, specifically small modular reactors, in search of solutions to rising electricity demand amid the AI boom. The two parties met Friday in Seoul as part of Gates' visit to Korea. Gates emphasized his intent to expand cooperation with Korean companies going forward. He also held a series of meetings with other government officials as well as business leaders. Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwon met with Gates and joined the signing ceremony between Korea's SK Innovation and TerraPower. SK Innovation signed an agreement to participate directly in TerraPower's global projects. SK Group remains TerraPower's second largest shareholder, following a capital investment totaling $250 million. HC Hyundai Chairman Chung Ki-sun also met with Gates to discuss the establishment of facilities capable of producing up to 3 reactor vessels annually. Tucson Ability also signed a contract Friday to manufacture core reactor vessels and internal support structures. TerraPower is building a commercial demonstration facility in Wyoming with an electricity output of 345 megawatts. The sodium-cooled reactor operates at atmospheric pressure to enhance operational safety, and the advanced modular system reduces high-level radioactive waste by 40%. Electricity demand is increasing rapidly worldwide to support the computing infrastructure behind artificial intelligence. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The Trump administration has opened the door for foreign shipbuilders investing in the U.S. to build 2 American warships overseas, raising hopes of new opportunities for South Korea's shipbuilding industry. Lee Ju-yeon explains.
U.S. President Donald Trump has allowed foreign shipbuilders to build 2 U.S. warships overseas, provided they invest in U.S. shipyards. According to a White House memorandum released on Thursday, the plan aims to allow the U.S. rapidly acquire initial vessels from overseas while transferring advanced foreign shipbuilding technology and production methods to U.S. shipyards. At the same time, it drives domestic investment to restore shipbuilding competitiveness to the U.S. Foreign shipbuilders will be able to build 2 vessels in their home country, provided that they satisfy specific conditions. First, they must establish a new U.S. shipyard or acquire a majority stake in an existing one. Trump added that all ships after the first 2 must be built in the United States. Second, they must hire and train an American citizen workforce to operate these U.S. shipyards. Third, they must license their proprietary shipbuilding technologies and techniques to their U.S. shipyards. Fourth, they must source the U.S. supply chain for the construction and maintenance of all ships built at these U.S. shipyards. Among Korean shipbuilders, Hanwha is well-positioned to qualify, as it acquired Philly Shipyard in Philadelphia in December 2024. President Trump has consistently expressed interest in the Korean shipbuilding industry, aligning it with his MASCA, or Make American Shipbuilding Great Again, initiative to revive the U.S. maritime sector.
So we're going to probably look at some of these companies that are coming in from South Korea and other places, and they're working with us on ships. And We're going to also buy some ships that are made outside of the area.
This interest coincides with deepening bilateral cooperation, as Korea previously pledged to invest $150 billion in the U.S. shipbuilding industry as part of a broader $350 billion trade and investment agreement reached last year. Attention is now focused on whether this U.S. memorandum will pave the way for broader opportunities across the Korean shipbuilding sector. Lee Ju-yeon, Arirang News.
In the meantime, the U.S. is imposing tariffs on drones and drone parts as it aims to curb China's dominance in the drone market. Now, Korean drones will face tariffs of 15%. Park Jun-han has this report.
U.S. President Donald Trump has signed a proclamation imposing tariffs of up to 100% on drones and some of their components. Announced on Thursday local time, the White House says the new tariff program is essential to protect the national security and defense industrial base of the United States. Starting September 3rd, a 100% tariff will be imposed on drones that are considered critical for military and security use. This includes drones with a maximum takeoff weight of over 25 kilograms and those equipped with thermal imaging capabilities. Smaller drones without these sensitive features will face a 25% levy beginning next February. The tariff action authorized under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act is largely aimed at China. Chinese companies currently control roughly 90% of the global consumer drone market and over 70% of the commercial sector. Washington has warned that relying on foreign sources for key components creates severe cybersecurity and information leak risks. Korea, along with other U.S. allies like Japan and the European Union, will face a tariff of 15%, while the UK faces 10% tariffs. The U.S. government's actions could create an opportunity for Korean manufacturers to expand their presence in the U.S. market as Washington seeks to reduce its reliance on China-based supply chains. In fact, the Korean government submitted a document to the U.S. Commerce Department last August, indirectly raising concerns about a single country monopolizing the unmanned aircraft system market. To benefit from the lower tariff rate, Korean firms must prove that substantially all of their hardware, software, and technology originate from Korea, the U.S., or one of the other countries with special tariff rates. As drones rapidly become a core technology in both commercial and defense sectors, Korean companies now face the challenge of localizing their supply chains. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
South Korea's ICT exports hit an all-time high in July, fueled by soaring global demand for AI chips and other advanced technologies. Our Park Ju-hee has the details.
Korea's information and communications technology exports hit an all-time record for the month of July, exceeding $50 billion for the second consecutive month. Data released by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Resources on Friday shows that July ICT exports surged by 140.6% on year to $53.36 billion. Accounting for 54% of total exports, the ICT sector remained a major export driver, making up over half of all national exports for 3 consecutive months. With imports rising 37.3%, Korea reported an ICT trade surplus of around $35 billion. By item, semiconductor exports surged 178.8% on year to around $41 billion, recording triple-digit annual growth for 7 consecutive months. Shipments of computers and peripherals soared 353.9%, extending gains for 9 straight months as SSD exports alone leaped about 500%. Displays edged up 0.5% on rising demand for mobile OLED panels, while mobile phone exports increased 62.6%. By destination, ICT exports expanded across all major markets, with shipments to China jumping 194.7% to more than $22 billion, accounting for over 41% of the total. Exports to the United States and the EU also surged by nearly 187 and 202% respectively. Experts say that this sharp surge in ICT exports is largely attributable to the recent rise in semiconductor prices and booming demand. Yet concerns are growing over how long this momentum can last, as foreign competitors quickly narrow the technological gap.
With the U.S. pushing for localized production and protective trade policies, along with China rapidly closing the tech gap, maintaining our export momentum will be tough. To stay ahead of these rising rivals, Korea must drive technological innovation and develop next-generation semiconductor products.
Korea's ability to maintain its technological lead while navigating international market shifts will determine whether this record-breaking export trend can be sustained in the long run. 백주희, Arirang News.
Three days after a powerful earthquake struck Colombia, rescue teams are still searching for survivors, despite the critical 72-hour window having passed. Kim So-young has the latest.
Rescue efforts are continuing in Colombia 3 days after a powerful earthquake, as the critical 72-hour window for finding survivors has now passed. Colombian authorities say at least 281 people have been killed and around 3,970 injured, when 379 remain officially listed as missing. The number of households damaged due to the earthquake is reported to be around 45,000. However, a civilian-run missing person database puts the number of people unaccounted for at more than 4,200. Despite the passage of the so-called golden time, when the chances of finding survivors are believed to fall sharply, rescue teams and volunteers are still searching through collapsed buildings and piles of debris.
If someone got stuck over there, I'm going over there. Sometimes they don't let me in because I'm not from an institution. I don't have a blue cross or green or red. No, but we, the elders, have knowledge. We know what this is.
While search teams press on through the ruins, thousands of displaced Colombians are being cared for at shelters set up across the affected region. In Perilla, a sports arena has been converted into a shelter, taking in dozens of families left homeless by the quake.
We have families who are being received and being attended to. They spend the whole night here. They are being cared for. We have doctors and nurses who look after them.
At some locations, crews have begun removing rubble even as searches continue, raising concerns that hopes of finding more survivors alive are fading. Rescue operations have been especially difficult in isolated areas. However, residents refuse to wait, digging through the wreckage with their bare hands, determined to reach neighbors and relatives trapped below. That same determination is now driving the next phase of the response, as authorities say recovery efforts will continue in the days ahead. Kim So-young, Arirang News.
The Strait of Hormuz crisis is intensifying as Washington signals an indefinite blockade, and Iran's axis of resistance launches attacks across the region. Shin So-eun has more.
As the standoff in the Strait of Hormuz shows little sign of a breakthrough, the United States is maximizing pressure on Iran, warning of an indefinite blockade and unprecedented economic isolation. During a visit to Panama, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hicks said Washington could sustain its naval operation for an unlimited period by rotating warships through the region. On Thursday, U.S. Central Command further leveled up Washington's unmanned warfare capabilities by launching its first multinational, multi-domain drone task force. Dubbed Task Force Falcon Strike, the initiative is designed to create a single deterrent force by integrating U.S. and regional drone capabilities, though officials have yet to disclose which allies will participate. Such preparation comes as Iran's mass drone attacks have rapidly depleted U.S. munitions and pushed Washington to look to use cheaper strike systems. Washington also looks to increase economic pressure on Iran, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warning of what he calls unprecedented economic isolation. Bessent said that the U.S. had moved from grand fury to economic fury, targeting Iranian leaders' global assets and restricting the flow of goods through Iran's strategic waterways.
We've destroyed their nuclear program. We've destroyed their conventional military. We're just going to keep on applying the pressure that we can apply and getting as much oil and gas out of the Middle East so that Americans can enjoy lower gas and energy prices.
Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister directly rejected President Trump's claim of total control in the Strait of Hormuz on Thursday, accusing Washington of intelligence failure and warning against an even greater miscalculation. That defiance has also played out across the region, with Iran-backed Houthis rebels attacking a vessel in the Red Sea 2 days ago, while the United Arab Emirates reported attacks on 2 of its vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. The deteriorating maritime security environment is heightening concerns over global energy supplies, with the International Energy Agency forecasting oil supply to fall by 4.3 million barrels per day this year as inventories shrink. Shin So-eun, Arirang News.
The drought in Gyeongsang-namdo province here in the country continues to worsen, prompting authorities to extend a nationwide firefighting mobilization order as emergency water supplies are sent to hard-hit areas. An Sung-jin has this report.
Water gushes from a military truck into a dry irrigation ditch. The stream quickly flows toward a parched rice field, bringing much-needed water to crops. Gyeongsang-namdo province in the southeast of the country is struggling under prolonged drought. In Hamanggun County, near the center of the province, the situation is severe. At a reservoir in the county, the lake bed is fully exposed, and water levels have dropped to an emergency alert level where even with the floodgates completely open, there's barely any water left to release. 15 military water trucks had been deployed to keep the farmland supplied, and for the local farmers, every truckload makes a difference.
During my 28 years of farming, I have never experienced anything like this. Seeing the water come in gives me some comfort, and I'm so grateful.
This operation is part of a nationwide emergency response. National Fire Mobilization Order had been issued to dispatch emergency water supplies across the region. It was originally scheduled for 2 days until Thursday, with some 200 fire trucks from across the country sent to 14 cities and counties to deliver agricultural water. But now the order has been extended indefinitely. With the extension, the number of trucks will be reduced to 100, but water deliveries will continue in areas where agricultural water is most urgently needed based on local reservoir levels. And as the drought continues across the region, the Interior Ministry on Friday established a new task force dedicated to tackling the situation, bringing together officials from the Agriculture and Environment Ministries, as well as other related organizations. The government plans to use emergency funds to increase water supplies and minimize damage for residents and crops. Rain is forecast for parts of the province over the weekend, with some hope that this can relieve the dire situation and offer a lifeline for the farmers. Fire authorities say they will continue to monitor the weather before deciding when to lift the mobilization order. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
The Blue House has reiterated President Lee Jae-myung's support for a 4-year, 2-term presidency with greater powers for the National Assembly. An official told reporters on Friday that Lee shares concerns about too much power being concentrated in the presidency, but believes any changes should be discussed and pursued by lawmakers. The official also stressed that the president was referring to neither a semi-presidential nor parliamentary system. Now, this comes after a local media report fueled speculation over such a shift. It cited a lawmaker from the main opposition People Power Party who said he had agreed on the need for constitutional reform when the lawmaker raised the idea of a more decentralized model. One of his campaign pledges was to pursue constitutional change to create a 4-year, 2-term presidency. Now, currently, Korean presidents are limited to a single 5-year term. President Lee Jae-myung has called for greater consideration for young people and more efficient youth policy. Presiding over a related policy discussion with experts on Friday at the Blue House, he highlighted the need to shift towards policies tailored for young people to actually address the issues they're facing. He cited relatively fewer job opportunities as a key challenge facing people in their 20s and 30s in Korea. Tradition meets modern fashion as the country's largest exhibition dedicated to Hanbok, or traditional Korean clothing, has opened its doors here in Seoul. To tell us more, we are joined by our culture correspondent, To Young-eun. Welcome, Young-eun.
Great to be here, Dami.
So, Young-eun, Hanbok stands at the crossroads between tradition and everyday fashion. Now, you visited the exhibition yourself. Tell us more about this year's Hanbok Expo.
Right, Dami. I visited the 2026 Hanbok Expo here in Seoul, where visitors are getting a closer look at how the traditional Korean clothing is being reinterpreted for today. Have a look at what the exhibition has to offer. People line up to explore new styles and trends as traditional Korean clothing takes on a fresh contemporary look. This is the 2026 Hanbok Expo in Seoul, Korea's largest exhibition dedicated to Hanbok. Here, both traditional and contemporary styles of Hanbok come together on one fashion platform, showing how Korea's heritage can be reinterpreted in ways to find new meaning for modern audiences. As Hanbok moves beyond special occasions and into everyday wardrobes, the expo offers a glimpse of how this cultural heritage is becoming part of everyday life.
I came here to see what styles and trends are popular this year. Since we no longer live in the Joseon era, I wanted to see how traditional Hanbok designs are being adapted into everyday clothing and accessories such as hair ornaments that people can actually wear in their daily lives.
Now in its 9th year, the Hanbok Expo brings together 149 companies under the theme, "The Market Where Hanbok Are Made." Participants have the opportunity to explore the beauty of Hanbok through a custom Hanbok making experience, making traditional Korean clothing more accessible and familiar.
Hanbok is our traditional clothing, so I've always wanted people to keep wearing and enjoying it. I'm glad that events like this are still being held, because they give us more opportunities to experience and enjoy Hanbok.
Also showcased are businesses from Gwangjang Market, which has been a major hub for Hanbok production and distribution in Korea for around 120 years, and has now become a popular destination for those looking to experience the roots of Korean culture. The exhibition recreates the entire Hanbok making process, from selecting fabrics and adding intricate embroidery to completing the garment using traditional sewing techniques.
This market has a history of almost 100 years as a specialized textile market. We want to introduce the craftsmanship of these merchants and show people that Korea has truly exceptional clothing and fabrics. Many people may not be familiar with these details, but our natural silk fabrics in particular are of a quality that can compete anywhere in the world.
From traditional and everyday Hanbok to fabrics, accessories, bags, and lifestyle goods, a wide range of products are being offered at affordable prices, drawing a steady stream of visitors.
Now, that certainly sounds like an exciting experience and one that draws a lot of attention. Now, Young-eun, what do you think is driving the renewed interest in Hanbok?
Well, to begin with, the interest in Hanbok has been growing quite steadily. So as younger generation take a greater interest in Hanbok, the trend is building momentum, and the 2026 Hanbok Expo offers a glimpse into that transformation. Hanbok is also gaining greater visibility on the global stage. K-pop group Stray Kids has incorporated Hanbok-inspired looks into its performances, while group member Felix was selected as the Hallyu Cultural Artist and face of the Cultural Ministry's 2026 Hanbok Wave project. Korea is also pursuing UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage status for Hanbok lifestyle with a target official inscription of 2030. The practice was designated as a National Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2022, laying the groundwork for the global bid.
I see. Now, as Hanbok is increasingly viewed as a fashion rather than simply traditional attire, how is the market changing?
Young designers and brands are reinterpreting traditional elements through contemporary colors, silhouettes, and designs, making Hanbok more accessible as everyday fashion. Experts say that in recent years, younger designers have brought a more fashion-forward sensibility to Hanbok, drawing more attention in both Korea and abroad, and helping expand its presence in the mainstream fashion market. The question now is whether modern Hanbok can go beyond its traditional image and establish itself as a major part of the global fashion industry.
Incorporating hanbok into the modern fashion market and efforts to make it part of everyday life can be traced back to the 1980s. But in recent years, hanbok has been gaining global attention through more fashion-forward designs with a youthful, contemporary sensibility. In particular, as younger generations have become increasingly interested in hanbok, the hanbok fashion market has also been growing. We can see this trend firsthand at the Hanbok Expo.
Indeed, and so proud to see how hanbok is gaining more popularity. Young-en, thank you for the coverage.
Thank you. During the day, the heat is still hanging on across the country. Heat advisories are in place across Jeollado and Gangwon-do provinces, while tropical night advisory is in effect in Jeollabuk-do province. The good news is we'll get a bit of a break from the heat as rain moves in over the holiday weekend. On Liberation Day tomorrow, showers will mainly target the central regions of the country with anywhere from 5 to 50 millimeters of rain. Then the rain will start moving into the southern regions tomorrow afternoon and spread across most of the country by early Sunday morning. Jeju Island and the southern regions could see 20 to 50 millimeters of rain per hour, with total rainfall topping 120 to 150 millimeters of rain in some areas. Tomorrow, Seoul will start the day at 24 degrees Celsius and Daejeon and Daegu at 23 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 32 degrees, Chuncheon 31 and Busan 30 degrees. Looking ahead, once the rain clears out, the heat will be back. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.